This is a knot, a mess of threads all twisted and tight. You pull one end and the whole thing just gets worse. And if I'm being honest, this knot is my life, my mind. Every thread is a worry. A deadline, a bill, a conversation I messed up, a future I'm terrified of. I've been pulling at all the wrong ends for so long, I forgot what it even looked like to be untangled. But what if there was a way to stop pulling? What if the problem wasn't the knot itself, but how I was looking at it? This is the story of how I found an ancient operating system for the mind. It's called Stoicism. And it didn't teach me how to untie the knot. It taught me that I was the one who tied it in the first place. My guide for this first part was a man who was born a slave. His name was Epictetus. Imagine that. A man with absolutely no control over his own body, his own freedom, his own life. And yet, he wrote one of the most powerful statements on freedom ever written. Some things are up to us and some things are not. This is the dichotomy of control. Is the first and most important tool. My anxiety, my frustration, it all came from spending all my energy on the right-hand column. I was trying to control my reputation, other people's opinions, things that had already happened. Epictetus said, "Happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control and some things are not." I had it backwards. I was a slave to everything I couldn't control. But knowing the theory wasn't enough. I knew what I shouldn't control, but my judgments were still a tangled mess. To fix that, I had to go further back to the man who inspired the Stoics, Socrates. An unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates' entire method was about asking questions. Not to find easy answers, but to expose flawed thinking. So I started to do it to myself. Was the presentation itself a failure? Or is that just my judgment of it? Did some people find it helpful? Did I communicate the core idea? Is my worth as a person tied to this single event? Socrates was put to death for asking uncomfortable questions. I was just making myself a little uncomfortable before breakfast. But it was working. I was untangling my judgments, thread by thread. And this is where it all comes together. A merchant named Zeno was shipwrecked in Athens. He lost his entire fortune, everything in the right-hand column of the dichotomy. He was my traffic jam, but 1,000 times worse. Lost and desperate, he wandered into a bookstore and asked the bookseller where he could find a man like Socrates. The bookseller pointed to a philosopher named Crates and said, "Follow that man." Zeno did. He began studying and eventually started teaching his own philosophy in that same painted colonnade, the Stoa. His followers became known as Stoics. Zeno didn't get his ship back. He didn't get his money back. He found something better. He found a new way to see the world. The obstacle, his shipwreck, became the way. The knot wasn't the end of the rope. It was the thing that taught him what the rope was made of. So here we are. The knot is still here. The traffic jams, the difficult conversations, the setbacks, they don't magically disappear. Life is still a series of threads. But now I have the tools. From Epictetus, I take the wisdom to know which threads I can actually hold. My judgments, my actions, my character. From Socrates, I take the courage to question every anxious thought, to untie the false knots my mind creates. And from Zeno, I take the resilience to see that every tangle, every shipwreck, is not an end but a new beginning, a chance to find your Stoa and build a stronger self. But here's the secret the Stoics knew that I only just figured out. You don't build that inner citadel alone. Even Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, wrote his meditations as a reminder to himself. We all need a community. We all need to remember we're not the only one holding a tangled knot. So here's your move, your first practical action. I want you to think of one small thing that felt like a knot for you this week. It doesn't have to be a big shipwreck. Maybe it was a moment of road rage, a frustrating comment from a coworker, a plan that fell through. Now, I want you to do one of two things. One, go down into the comments and write it down. Just type it out. You can start with, "My knot this week was." And you know what? You'll see you're not alone. You'll see 100 other versions of your own knot. And in that shared recognition, the knot already starts to feel looser. We can help untangle each other's threads. Or two, if you're not ready to share it, grab a piece of paper right now and write it down. Then, beneath it, ask yourself the two questions we learned. Is this within my control? And what is my judgment here? Just the act of writing it down separates you from the chaos. It turns you from the person in the knot to the person looking at the knot. That is the beginning of true power. This isn't just my story anymore. It's ours. The Stoics of old had their community in the Agora. We have ours right here. If you want to continue this mission, subscribe. Your move. Let's untangle this together.